Welcome to Karuizawa, Japan for day 2 of the Pacific Asia Curling Championships here at the beautiful ice arena, purpose-built brand new facility in Karuizawa, Japan. We're getting our first look at the men in this competition, session 4. Our feature match today is Japan versus Korea. I'm Hans Fraunlad. Lysander Rolduck and Sander. Great matchup today.
Sure, I've been looking forward to this game all day. Japan and Korea, two very strong men's teams, have all the tools. We're also going to have a look at the standings here. Of course, they won both their first game, Japan and Korea. Chinese Taipei also picked up a win today. Chinese yet to play a game, while Australia, Kazakhstan and New Zealand at the bottom of the ranking so far. We're going to have a look at Japan's lineup. At lead, Kosuke Morozumi. Second player is Tetsuro Shimizu. Third player, Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi. And skip, of course, is Yosuke Muratsumi. No alternate player for them, but the coach is Hatomi Nagaoka.
And they'll be facing Team Korea. So let's meet Team Korea. Playing at lead is Yunho Nam. At second stone is Chontuk Park. Playing at third is Tai Han Kim. And the skip is Soo Hook Kim. Min Hyung Yu is the alternate, and their coach is Si Young Yang. So those are our teams. Battle of the Unbeatens after one draw in the men's event. A single round robin in here at Karuizawa. There you see the magnificent Karuizawa Ice Park Curling Hall. 6-sheet dedicated facility. And we're just about to get underway. We see Japan has won last rock through the last stone draw. They'll play the red stones, Korea playing the yellow stones. And we're underway.
Yeah, cool draw to the pin for Morozumi to win the hammer. And that could really be the edge for the Japanese team in what we hope to be a close-fought match.
Always love to have the hammer in the first end if you can.
And we're going to see some aggressive play right off the bat here. Two women games we've seen. They've seen a little bit of defensive tactics. Here we'll see a center guard, and Muratsumi will call the corner guard immediately, not wanting to come around the center guard and clutter up the center line. We've seen this tactic used by other teams as well. Niklas Edin from Sweden, world champion, used to do this a lot, especially during the Olympics.
Yeah, this is really the curling equivalent of both fighters coming out of the corner swinging, isn't it, Sander? They're really both throwing up a center guard, a corner guard. They're both signaling their intentions to attack.
Yunho Nam lead for Korea. He's going to try and draw around his own center guard now.
By the guard.
And that's really good, especially for a first end to have such good weight control.
Absolutely perfect. Top of the button. Korea lies 1.
Kosuke Muratsumi, lead for Japan. Just going to follow down the stone with a freeze. Not really touching it so far. Maybe just needing to catch some curl here to get to the face of the hill. Maybe 2 feet heavy there. Will bounce off a wee bit.
He does reposition the stone. Pushes it a little bit in the open. Just looking at the angles. Both of these teams have World Championship experience. Morozumi and his mates have been to the World Championship 3 times. Soo Hook Kim has been twice. Chontuk Park. A little full, little wide as well. So a small break there for Japan. See from our overhead shot, 2 stones in the button area. Some discussion here among the Japanese about the shot to play. Looks like Morizumi's opting for the out-turn draw around the corner guard. Asking his second player, Tetsuro Shimizu, to play this shot. Well, there's an old school Western Canada toe slide for you. Manitoba tuck.
He's always planking over the broom here. Some real pressure on the brooms. Good sweepers.
It's one of the reasons I was really looking forward to this game. Both of these teams are fantastic athletes, really, really strong sweepers. I think we're going to see some great shot making in this game. Chontuk Park. Sweepers are really being put to the test on this one. And they get it by the guard. Fantastic job sweeping. That's a great team shot. Chontuk Park was a little bit narrow with that out-turn come around, but his sweepers held the line magnificently. The result was excellent. First end of play. You're watching live curling from the Pacific Asia Curling Championships. First look at the men's event. 7 countries competing here for 2 places at the Men's World Curling Championship. They'll play a single round robin and then a semi-final final. Nice shot there by Shimizu. Great look there at Soo-Hook Kim lining up the shot. Taihan Kim on the in-turn. Wow, beauty. Great shot. Yeah, you can smile. 1, 2, double kill. Great shot. Bit early, but maybe a top 10 candidate. So Japan's got the hammer. Trying to rebuild their first end. Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi throwing at the 3rd stone position. Looking for a little inside roll if he could get it. On the nose.
Probably going to see Taihan Kim try and make the same roll and underneath the center guard. So he had a great double with his first one. Going to bring the weight down a little bit here. Just rolls a bit too far. It's going to pop in the open.
Those are always really tough line reads when You're trying for a hit and roll, but you're only trying to roll the rock about 1 or 2 widths of the stone. Getting that just right is really tough. So a chance here for Japan to have their go at the hit and roll. Outturn this time for Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi. Not laying a brush to it. Has to curl a bit. Well, they're going the other way now. So no chance of the inside roll. Trying to change the shot a little bit going out to the wing. Now we mentioned the 7 teams that are playing in the men's competition. The Pacific Asia region of the World Curling Federation is geographically very, very large. We have teams here from Kazakhstan, from New Zealand, from Australia, China, Chinese Taipei, Japan. But in terms of distance traveled, this Japanese team, their commute was probably about 2.5 minutes. They actually live here in Karuizawa, and a matter of fact, 2 of the team members actually work here in this facility, so they're extremely familiar with the environs here. I suspect the Kazakhstan team and the New Zealand team had a slightly longer trip.
Korean skip, Soo-Hook Kim with that nose hit. Couldn't make a roll. So has left the same shot for Morozumi. Can try and set up for an early deuce here. But a good roll.
That center guard has been out there the whole end waiting for somebody to roll behind it. Control weight hit from Morozumi, out turn. Again, a little less curl than they were expecting. Just on the nose. Soo-Hook Kim with the outturn. Looking for the roll. There's the roll. Is he behind the guard? And that's a pretty good looking shot. Great shot there from Soo-Hook Kim.
Yeah, I wonder if Morozumi can see enough though to just...
You can see half a rock and they put the broom down there pretty quickly, so I think he thinks he can just pick that out. So Japan would like to make contact with the shooter. Of course, they would roll out themselves, but blanking the first end, they would be quite happy with that. Last stone of the first end. Ryusuke Morozumi trying for the blank. Perfectly executed. Nice shot. So a few chances for both teams to try and get behind that center guard, but in the end, Japan blanks. No score after one end of play. Japan holds the hammer into the second end. This is our feature game, but of course we've got 5 games of curling going on here in the 4th session. Both ladies and men's events are happening here. We'll keep you updated with the scores as the games progress. The other games in this draw on sheet E, it's in the men's event, Chinese Taipei versus Australia. Chinese Taipei had a big win this morning against New Zealand. On sheet D, also in the men's draw, we have China versus New Zealand. China had bye in the first round, so this is their first game. On sheet C, in the ladies' event, we have Japan versus New Zealand. On sheet B, also in the women's event, we have Australia versus China. And of course, on sheet A, our feature game, in the men's event, Japan versus Korea. Here's Korean lead. Yuho Nam. They elected a center guard in the first end, and it looks like they're trying it again. Aggressive play here from both teams. Here's the Korean lead.
And again, Yusuke Mursum's going to call for the corner guard. So same setup as in the first end.
Nicely played, so once again, game on. All of the teams and all of the countries competing here, of course, are going to be striving to qualify for the Winter Olympics in 2018. Of particular interest to this Korean team because the next Winter Games will be on their home turf in Pyeongchang. Just feathering the guard on the come-around attempt. They'll pop over in the wing. So here's a chance for the Japanese to use the corner guard that they just put up there. Yamaguchi and Shimizu on the brushes. Well by the guard. The curl seems to be just fooling the Japanese slightly early in the game. They've had a few stones that looks like they were anticipating a bit more curl than they actually got. So that stone's in the open and accessible for Korea. Chuntak Park, Korea in second.
Skinny's past the guard there. Fairly close, thought he was on it. Well, it does make contact, but sits in the open.
Park says, I had it all the way.
So Team Japan now, it's going to have to make a few hit and rolls. Couldn't really get there in the first end. I'll make sure they play the soft weights and use the sweepers. But again, not quite finding the perfect roll.
Shimizu was hoping for a slightly longer roll than that. Japanese stone is accessible. Chuntak Park. Playing the out turn. And a panic sweep there from the Koreans. It's a nose hit. So Japan, after blanking the first end, carried the hammer into the second. Korea's lying 2. Japan trying to make something happen here. Shimizu. The out turn. Trying for a little outside roll behind the corner guard. Might have rolled just too far, but yes, just popped out the other side. Really good try.
Still good though. It's better off rolling too far there, because even if you make Korea play the hit here, you will open up the center and allow yourself to draw around the corner guard. So
indeed,
it's a good result. It's all about moving play away from the center line and towards the corner guards. That's the reason why they put the corner guard up there. You're gonna have to try and use it.
Korean third, Tae-Han Kim, and remove that Japanese stone. By the guard, right in the nose.
I want to see them ignoring the yellow stones here now. Team Japan, and just come around the corner guard, just put it right next to that yellow stone just played by Korea.
And that is exactly what it looks like they're going to do, Sandra.
Well,
it's a brave play when you're looking at two, but you have to back yourself sometimes with last rock.
Well, I was thinking around the corner guard. Looks like they're drawing the center guard here.
So Yoshi Yamaguchi, Japanese third. Rushers are really working this one. I think they're a bit concerned about the line. They've got to get by that center guard. Can they get it by? Fantastic brushing.
Yeah, really good. Had to go for a line there, but does slip a bit too far. Actually pops out on the other side, so just a bit tight all the way there. Tsuyoshi.
So Japan line one. They have the hammer here in the second end. Tae-Han Kim being asked to throw a draw in front of that Japanese counter. Korean sweep is really working this one. Can they get it by the guard? Yes, they're by. Pushing the Japanese rock to the back of the 8-foot. So back-to-back displays of high-quality sweeping from both teams, holding the line on those shots and getting it by that center guard. Bit of separation, though, between the shot rock and the stone behind it, so perhaps still an opportunity for Japan to manufacture a deuce. Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi on the outturn. They want to move that Korean stone if they can. Just to it.
And I don't think they got a really good angle there either. Pretty much lined up onto the back red. They wanted to stay high there.
That's absolutely right. You can see from the angles there, if the red stone was to be struck, the yellow stone would be driven directly onto the red stone at the back of the 8-foot. So the angle's not so favorable for the Japanese. Korea's still lying one. Soo-Hook Kim, the Korean skip, heading down to throw his shots. There you see a great shot. Well lined up behind that center there. Korea sense that they'll have a chance to steal this end if they can execute. Heading towards that center guard and just taking it. So definitely blocking both passes to the button. Probably not exactly what he was looking for, but gets the job done. Japanese team looking at the angles here, perhaps considering playing in and off the stone on the left-hand side of the rings. They have to find some way to get to their own red stone and move it to at least give them shot. And by the looks of things, they're going to try and hit that yellow stone, about half of it, drive it across into their own red, and if things work out really well for them, they could even lie too. Tough shot though. Watching intently. There's the contact, but right on the nose. No inside roll there. So again, slightly confused is the wrong word, but they're really expecting a bit more movement than they're getting. So Soo-Hook Kim realizes that if he leaves that stone there, the Japanese will just try that again. So he wants to deal with that somehow. Small danger here if he comes off his own, of course. Lots of stones in play here in the second end. A little inside roll. Makes it a little bit more difficult for Morozumi to use it. And now Japan has to consider how much risk they want to take to try and score their one.
Well, the good thing here is that the red stone's really glued onto the shot stone, so it's not more than likely not going to spill off too hard. If you want to play it safe, you could play just a back ring weight tap on one of the top yellows. And if you catch it at a bad angle, you won't be able to squeeze the red off for more than the steal of one.
Yes, what they'll be considering, of course, all the stones in front of the house are Korean stones. You never really like to use the opponent's stone to run back onto your own, because bad things can happen sometimes. But occasionally you have no choice.
Only thing you can't do is catch the red stone on the right hand side here.
So it looks like Japan is lining up a straight run back on that yellow stone to nose hit their own rock and take one.
Got to be careful. He hasn't really curled up on all our shots, Morozumi, and he has a tendency to flick it out a wee bit. If anything, he wants the inside of the stones running back, not the outside.
Sweeper's waiting for it. Does need to curl a bit. There's the contact. Ooh. So it's a steal of one to Korea. The attempted raise just blows by the shot rock. And Korea are on the board, stealing one. So we see the Korean team there having A quick chat between the ends, setting up their plan for the third end. As we said, there are 5 games going on here in the 4th session of the Pacific Asia Curling Championships. Thank you for joining us all around the world on our live web streaming coverage. Quick updates from some of the games. In the men's game on Sheet E, Australia versus Chinese Taipei. Chinese Taipei have just scored at 2 in the second end, and they've taken a 2-1 lead. On Sheet D, China versus New Zealand. China scored a 3 in the first, but the Kiwis bounced back with a 2 of their own. China leads that 3-2. On Sheet C, in the women's event, Japan versus New Zealand. The Kiwis scored a 2 in the second end. Japan scored a 1 in the first, so New Zealand is leading that one 2-1. On Sheet B, in the women's event, Australia versus China. First end was blanked. Australia scored a 1 in the second. Australia leads that 1-0. And in our feature game, as we just saw, Korea stole the second end. They're up 1-0.
Kosuke Morasumi will again throw the corner guard.
Yes, we see with the overhead headshot that the first center guard by Yoonhon Nam is about as good as you can make it. It's still in the free guard zone by about 3 millimeters. Which means that the Japanese couldn't remove it. They might have ignored it anyways.
Well, they have done for the last few ends, so might even make it a little harder for themselves to come around this center guard. Gonna have to be pretty close to it to get Philly Bride.
Sliding to the back of the rings. Will it stay in the house? Yes, it does. Comes to rest in the back of the 12-foot. But lots of house to play with for the Japanese.
And again, coming around the center guard here, I wouldn't mind them just throwing it around the corner. Just being drawn to the center line will match the Japanese. Saw that in the previous end. Didn't choose to come around the corner, came around the center guard, came a little bit deep. Korea came after with a freeze, and then everything was just clogged up along the center line. Just not giving themselves a lot of room to work with.
There's definitely less room for error when you're trying to come around the center guard. They're trying to sweep this to make it curl and finish.
Yeah, and again, in behind the T-line, so with the freeze from Korea here, all this play is just going to be centered around the forefoot, and there's a good chance that Japan will never be able to use their corner guard. So if you put a corner guard up there, you might as well use it. But what?
Chontuk Park, Korean second, playing the out turn around the center guard. Korean team thinking that the angles might be a little bit better this way. Well by the guard. Nice weight. Maybe hides a tiny corner. Again, they're not so happy, would have liked that to curl more. So again, a small opportunity for Japan. Korean shot stone. The center guard is in play, but Japan should be able to get to it. So Yoshimizu, the Japanese second.
No line, whoa. Okay.
Again, well by the guard. Raises in front of the Korean stone. Tiny bump. See Korean Skip Kim indicating that he'd like to see about back 8-foot weight for this shot. Just wants to move it a little bit, jiggle them a bit. Chuntuk Park. Playing the out turn.
제발 기다리자. 많이 돌아야 돼. 각이 더 중요해. 각이 더 중요해.
We're just trying to reposition the stone slightly.
That's not a good result.
The danger of repositioning the stones, of course, is that you change the angles, and sometimes it's not better for you. So there's Park, and there we see from the overhead the yellow Korean stones on an angle so that if the Japanese nose hit that top yellow, chances are both Korean stones would go and 3 Japanese stones would remain.
Even trying to get to the inside here, Morozumi. Or Shimizu. When throwing the rock. Just going to flop in behind the center guard. And as you said, remove the Koreans.
Nice stone there from Japan. Good control weight. Sometimes the temptation on a shot like that is to really hum it. Sometimes you'll overthrow it. It wasn't really necessary.
Yeah, if you'd thrown a bit more weight, you could have gotten rid of the back yellow, but it might as well just be there. Could be a catcher for one of the red stones.
So now, likewise, the Koreans have an opportunity to redecorate the house. Chance here for a triple takeout if the angles are great.
So the Koreans kept making a triple earlier today.
1, 2, 3. There they go. Wow. There's the fist pump. Tae-Han Kim, watch the box fly. 1, 2, 3. Screaming out of the rings. Fantastic shot. Triple takeout from Tae-Han Kim, the Korean third. Absolutely brilliant. One of the reasons that we were really looking forward to this match is both of these teams can throw big, accurate takeout weight. I think we might be seeing a lot of this today.
Yeah, well, that's what I like to see, though. Good setup, a lot of freezes, get some stones in play, load up the forfeit, and then when you get the right angles, you throw a really hard one accurately. Couldn't quite get rid of all the Korean stones there, Tsuyoshi. And a chance for Korea to come around the center guard again, live too.
Korean third, Tae-Han Kim.
That's fine. Whoa. Yep. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa. That's good. Yep, yep. Nice. 어디야? Whoa, whoa. Yes, 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 yes.
Sweepers are really working it, feathering the front. Might get a plan B and move it behind the corner guard. They were trying to get past that center guard into the forefoot, just feathered it, and we can see that they did actually hide half of it behind the corner guard, so not a bad plan B outcome for the Koreans. Now Morozumi's considering, how do I want to try and manufacture a pair here? Looks to be the run back. He's going to try and promote his own red stone straight back onto the Korean yellow stone. Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi, Japanese third.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, whoa. Whoa. Yep, yes.
Well, that's another interesting result. That worked out quite well for Japan. Spun it over on the corner, bumped the Korean stone, and kind of spun forward himself. So it's Japan lying in one. You can see almost a corner hidden behind that corner guard. Quite tricky now for the Koreans to remove that Japanese stone without killing their own.
최대한 세게 보자. 아니면 앞에 걸려도 되니까. 탁. 아니 스틸러. 어? 킬러 날려도 되죠. 킬러? 문제 어려운 거 할게.
You can see from the overhead it's pretty close, but it looks to me like Japan is lying one.
날려버리자. 아니. 자라 안 돌아 생각보다.
Korean skip Soo-Hook Kim
잼날 바에 그냥 때려서 날려버리자.
asking his third to just move the brush a little bit. Let's move the brush a lot.
괜찮아.
Needs to put it back on the target line. There we go.
자라 웬만하면 그냥 정 타봐.
Okay, telling us that they'd like to roll right across the house, so that says to me that they don't mind losing their own here.
꼬아야 돼. 강유선이야.
Sweeper's on it right away. Line might be a bit tight. Are they by the guard? Just by the guard. Oh, man. More fantastic sweeping from that Korean front end. Holding the line. Wasn't really what they were going for. The call was to actually roll across the house, but by squeaking it by the guard, they actually get an inside roll. Unbelievable. Korea lies too.
Still a chance to set up a deuce though for Team Japan. Have a chance to come around this red stone on the left. There will be shot rock behind that. Going to try and manufacture a skip deuce here. Yosuke Morozumi scoring 2 points with the skip's last two stones, that is. Skip's deuce.
The raw material is there. He still has a guard to work with.
Definitely going to be a score on this end, that's for sure. Sweeper's not even touching this one. It's never a good sign.
Well by the guard, and it looks like it's got plenty of weight as well. All the way to the back of the rings and through the rings, my goodness. So disappointment there for the Japanese skip. Trying to manufacture a skip's deuce, but unfortunately, a bit heavy with his draw attempt. Which means his next draw attempt, because it probably will be a draw, it's going to have to be a good one.
Yeah, Korea's going to try and block off the draw path. I think they're just going to place another yellow stone at the top of the 12 foot on the center line. That way, just leaving some narrow gaps on either side of the rock.
Soo-Hook Kim trying to make things difficult for his Japanese competitor. Third end of play, you're watching live coverage from the Pacific Asia Curling Championships in Karuizawa, Japan, from the magnificent Ice Park Curling Hall.
Doesn't quite get to the house here. It's probably not going to do too much for Team Korea. Should be enough space for Morozumi to find the 8 foot. Really wanted that 4 feet deeper.
Nevertheless, the last draw will be probably weighing on the mind of Morozumi. Through his first draw through the house, now he has to draw the 8 foot against 2 to save the end for Japan. Last stone of end number 3. Yosuke Morizumi, Japanese skip.
No line, no line.
No line yet. It's by the guards. Has he got the weight? He certainly does. Comes to rest right on the tee line, biting the button, and 1 point for Japan. So Morizumi recovers from his first rock mistake, makes a nice draw on the second. After 3 ends of play, we're all tied up. Japan won, Korea won. Quite important psychologically, I think, for Morizumi. Would you agree, Sander, to be able to make that draw after putting the first one in the hack?
Yeah, I'd say so. Just getting back on track. And now 1 point each. No panic. Although Korea has turned the hammer. And they have looked on the stronger side, I think, over the first 3 ends. But still 7 ends to go, so lots of curling to be done. And you know, sometimes when you switch up the last one advantage, you might see a change in momentum.
Could be. The Koreans have played the last 2 ends without the hammer by throwing up center guards. Let's see what Japan does. Japanese lead Kosuke Morizumi.
Well, they haven't been really good at utilizing the corner guards yet, so maybe trying to set up for a steal could work better for them. Now we saw Morizumi call for the corner guard, and so will Korean skip Soo-Hook Kim.
So each team kind of taking a page out of the other's playbook.
And the other option would just be to come around the center guard.
And so of those 2 options, Sander, what would the teams be thinking about if they were going for the center guard versus throwing up a corner guard of their own?
Well, maybe throwing the corner guard is slightly more aggressive and go around the center guard. But after watching a lot of games, it doesn't seem like the ones are very much more aggressive than the other. You see a lot of teams throwing up the corner guards, never getting to use that either. So I'm not sure if I'm 100% fan of throwing the corner guard. Sometimes coming around the center guard might be better, but it really only all depends on the team, really. If it works for your team and you're good with using the corner guards, and it generates a lot of deuces and threes, you use it. If not, you don't. It's very simple. So you play to. I guess every team they try and do different things over the course of a season, over the course of years, and you just do what works best for you. So.
Well, the center guard certainly worked for Morizumi. He followed that with a nice come around into the top of the forefoot.
Sometimes you just see the best teams in the world employ certain tactics and you just copy them, but it's not always the best solution, because if it doesn't really fit your team playing those tactics, you're better off doing something you're more comfortable with.
Korea trying to follow this one down. Small bump, leaving themselves in the top of the 8-foot. Japan is still lying 1, but it did reposition a shot rock. We can see Yosuke Morizumi tap his foot with his brush. That's telling Tetsuro Shimizu that he'd like to see hack weight on this shot. That's enough weight just to make it to the hack at the far end. Push it through the house gently. More importantly, to be able to control the roll. Now trying to roll it to the outside. Good weight, but it just didn't curl as much as they thought it might, leaving their own stone in the open now. Korea with the hammer on end number 4. So we're all tied up. It's 1-1. Park, Korean second, preparing to throw.
기다리자. 아니야, 기다려야 돼. 플랜 들어갈게. 야! 기다리자. 자라, 최다 좀 안으로 넣어.
Nose hit, little inside roll. And still lying 1. Morozumi thinks there's enough room on the inside to get by the center guard and perhaps even get a little inside roll. Asking the second stone Tetsuro Shimizu to try that. Can't afford for this one to be wide because it could jam on their own. Safely by their own shot rock, no inside roll, but Japan does lie 2. Great shot from the high long camera here where we can see that Korea is going to try a double takeout, try to remove both Japanese stones. Chontuk Park. Yes, no from the sweepers usually means they're close. 1, 2. Pushing it, spinning it, not out of the rings, but a pretty good attempt. Probably a millimeter away from a great double. We see the sweepers trying to hold the line. First rock hits the second rock very thinly, moves it, but not enough to push it out of the rings. So not a bad chance for Japan here to work on a force. A force would be when your opponent only scores 1 with the last rock. And of course the center guard is still right there, so a steal is still in the cards as well. Nice inside roll, half behind the center guard. Well done, Mr. Yamaguchi. Well done.
Well, they're going to have to make a decision here, Team Korea, if they want to come around the center guard, and it looks like they will. 4 stones left to go, though. So, option could have been to rip the center stones. Double peel the center stones, open things up. Very easy to get into a bit of mess here, coming around the center guard if you ever throw this one a little bit deep. But they want to stay aggressive and push for their 2 here. So
definitely aggressive play by the Koreans. By the center guard. Sliding just to the back of the button. Morozumi sweeps it back.
That's exactly what they didn't want. Perfect setup now for Team Japan to steal. Just place one right on top of there, just where Morozumi is pointing with his brush. So this could be a bit of a key shot for Tsuyoshi and Team Japan in this end. Really going to make a good one here. Sweepers on it.
Shimizu and Morozumi on the brushes.
Seem quite happy with the weight here. Just waiting for the line. Backing off it. Maybe just a bit heavier than they first expected here. It's going to bounce off the elbow. That's an opportunity missed by Tsuyoshi. And Korea will have another chance at drawing around this time, hopefully at the top of the forefoot.
Korea with the hammer here on the fourth. So a bit of a let-off there for Team Korea. Can they capitalize?
좀 기다려줘, 라인 많아. 가기도 중요해. 많이 약해.
Korea made the aggressive play coming around that center guard, facing two Japanese stones. Half miss from the Japanese, and here's a chance for the Koreans to really convert. They've got to get it by that center guard first, though. Do they have enough weight? Sweepers are really working it. Fantastic brushing by the Koreans. Great shot.
Yep, really good. And really threw that stone to the sweepers.
People often wonder about the purpose of sweeping in curling. Well, you got a great example of it right there. A top-class brushing unit like the Koreans can probably move a draw as many as 3 to 5 meters over the course of a shot. And they needed every bit of that one. But look at the result. Korea line 2. So big challenge now for Morozumi. Korea's got the hammer. 2 shots are buried. Looks to me like he's going to try to make a corner freeze on the rock in the back of the button. Be a great neutralizing shot if he can make it, but no room at all for error. Yamaguchi and Morozumi really working those brushes. Flirting with that top guard. Just on it. So big trouble here for Team Japan. We were trying to freeze that stone in the back of the button, but we can see it comes to rest in the top of the 12-foot. Morozumi just fighting his draw weight a little bit here in the early going. Big opportunity for Korea. So lots of red Japanese stones, but they're all on the periphery. Those 2 Korean rocks squarely behind a big wall of guards in the front of the house. Well protected. And sometimes in these situations, you're thinking, we've got 2 locked right now. If I throw a third one in there and get greedy, maybe you can make the shot for the opponent or give the opponent a shot that they don't really have right now. So they're being very thoughtful about their stone placement. They don't want to muck up what is looking like a very big end for them. And we've seen this Japanese team, how accurately they can throw the big takeout weight, so the Korean team knows that. And we see them calling timeout. They know this is a big moment in the game, and so they're looking to confer with their coach and discuss their options. So Sander, let's play coach. If you're walking down to the ice, what advice are you going to give the Koreans here?
Well, you see a lot of coaches there, they're just offering options rather than making the decision for them. Sometimes
what would the good options be here?
Well, the first option they were looking at was just drawing on the left-hand side here and putting another one on top of the button. That shot's certainly available. I think they might be worried that Morozumi might come off the red stone and into the 1 foot, but
here we see Coach Young.
I think maybe the draw is a shot here. Put one more in there. I can't see how you're going to mess it up too much.
They seem to be quite worried about the red Japanese stone just on the right-hand side of the screen, just behind the tee line, because there's certainly an opportunity right now for the Japanese to jump off that into the pile and hit the shot rock in the back of the button. So it's a bit of a danger stone for the Koreans.
Certainly more focused on the right-hand side here.
아니 이렇게 서버리면 히트 로드는 내리지 못해.
Teams are allowed one timeout a game where the coach can come onto the field of play and confer with the players. So the Koreans have elected to use their timeout right now. See the time clocks in the background on the scoreboard. Teams each have 73 minutes of playing time to complete all their shots. And they also get one timeout. And the Koreans have just used theirs. So the coach is given the options. We've heard some of the options from Coach Sander. Let's see what they decide to play.
I think they're playing this top four on the right-hand side. That will allow them the option to run that stone back with their last shot if Team Japan somehow gets to the 1 foot.
Korean third Tai-Han Kim holding the target for his skip. Here's Soo Hook Kim.
Going to be pretty accurate here. Good chance of leaving a double of some sort.
Nan and Park on the brushes.
And you don't want to be deep here and leave a pocket for Murazumi to freeze into.
Yeah, he slides past both stones all the way to the back of the 8-foot, lying third shot. Well, ironically, that's probably a really good result. Unintentional.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
So we see now that Korea lies 1, 2, 3 shots. And by sliding into the back of the 8-foot, the stone that was just thrown doesn't really offer Japan an opportunity to do anything with it. So we see Morozumi and Tatsuro Shimizu conferring. This is a big, big moment in this game. Fourth end, 1-1's the score. But Korea's got the hammer. They're lying 3 buried. Japan knows they have to make a really difficult shot here to cut them down. If they get a bit too cute, they could run the risk of dropping 4. And against a team that hits as well as this Korean team, that could be a very difficult road back. So remember, Japan opened the end with a center guard. That stone at the front that's top of the screen that's causing all the problems was put there by design by the Japanese. Now late in the end, they're wishing it wasn't there.
There's a few options here. Either you could draw either side, in turn, out turn. Or third option is to come off the red one here. Come off the red one, and you just want to hit the side of the yellow stone at the back of the 4 foot. That way you'll sit frozen onto that yellow stone just played by Korea. Maximum score of 2. You might feel more confident with the up weight. Yusuke Murazumi. And a few problems with his draw weight so far in the game.
Big moment here for Japan.
Just looking to come off his own here.
In turn and off, attempted here by Morozumi. Looking to hit his own stone and jump across into the pot. There's the hit, there's the inside roll. He pushes the shot rod and lies shot. Great shot by Morozumi.
Yeah, it's very good. Exactly what he's looking for.
And that's a big time bailout by the Japanese skip. Watch on the replay. Hits his own stone. Comes across on the angle. Hits the Korean shot rock. Leaves his own stone half buried behind the guards. So from a situation where he was looking at 3, now he's lying 1. Terrific shot. And the way that they've left the angles, the shot rock is still available to the Koreans. They could pick it out, but there's definitely a high risk of a jam, which would mean that Korea might score 1, but maybe no more.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if it's possible to score more than 1 here.
Korean team looking at the angles, and of course they've used their timeout, so they can't talk to the coach again. So they'll have to work this one out on their own. You can see here from this shot, It is theoretically possible to somehow squeeze that red rock between the two yellow ones and score 2, but boy, oh boy, he would have to hit it mighty thin to do that.
Well, can't you thin enough to just avoid the back yellow? You're scoring 2.
And the back yellow directly behind the red stone is definitely the dangerous rock for Korea. That's where the risk of the jam is.
But if anything, even if you jam and the red slides off it, you'll score 1 with that.
Scoring 2, maybe 3 quite easily, and then a fantastic in-off by Morozumi. Leaves this difficult shot for Soo-Hook Kim. Last stone of end number 4. Trying to pick the Japanese shot.
It's got to be close.
There's the pick. Wow. Bad luck. He almost got 2, but he scored his 1. Great shot by Team Korea. A wry look from the Korean skip, shaking his head. He thinks, man, boys, if we would have caught the sweep a second earlier, we might have got 2. Look at this. He's by. He picks the Japanese shot, almost squeezes it by the one behind it, but clips it on the way by. Korea scores 1. Well, that was an entertaining end of curling. Korea goes on top 2-1. And Team Japan in their team conference after this end will be saying, guys, we need to pick it up a little bit. I bailed you out. But they wouldn't want to be facing that situation very often. Big excitement. Let's use this opportunity to update you on the other scores in this 4th session of play here at the Pacific Asia Curling Championships. You're watching live coverage here on World Curling Television and our web streaming. You can email us, you can send us tweets, questions. We'd love to hear from you. On sheet E, in the men's event, it's Chinese Taipei versus Australia. Australia just stole 1 in the 4th end, and they have a 4-2 lead after 4 ends of play. On sheet D, China versus New Zealand. That's been not much defense in this game. China scored 3 in the 1st. New Zealand scored 2. China scored 3. New Zealand scored 2 back. So it's China 6, New Zealand 4 after 4 ends of play. On sheet C, very interesting matchup in the women's draw. Japan on a 1-2 one-loss record against winless New Zealand. But they're tied 2-2 after 4 ends, so a bit of a surprise there. The young New Zealand team giving this veteran Japanese team a real battle. On sheet B in the women's event, they're at the 5th end break. It's Australia trailing in that match. Scoreboard is slightly obscured for us. There's China, China 5, Australia 2. And in our feature match, we saw that the men's game, Korea, with that nice job picking out that Japanese shot, scoring 1. Korea leads it 2-1. Center guard followed by the corner guard.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times so far. And of course, the draw around the center guard with Yoon Ho Nam's 2nd shot. Using a stabilizer called the edge instead of a broom for support.
All perfectly legal. Got a solo act on the sweeping, so we've seen Park switch from one side to the other. Does a nice job of as a team of 1 on the brush. Gets it by the guard. Slightly deep. Korean skip Soo-Hook Kim is back on station. Kosuke Morozumi, the Japanese lead. The Morozumis are brothers. By the guard. trying to get all the way back to that shot. Well swept, just biting the top of the button. Another width of the rock, and that was awesome, but that's still pretty good. And another quick update from the ladies' event. New Zealand has actually taken a 3-2 lead into the fifth end break, stealing a point in the fifth. So that's brewing. You'd have to call this a major upset in the making if they can carry that into the second half of the game. Stones are beginning to gather around the button. Japanese second, Tetsuro Shimizu.
So look at the hit. Yellow here and roll towards the center, corner guard.
There's the hit. Kills the other Korean stone. Nice double takeout there by Shimizu.
Doesn't quite roll far enough though. It's probably going to leave a fairly simple double back to Korea.
It says something about the standard of play that we can talk about simple double takeouts back to back. The execution skills of these players is actually quite amazing. Chuntuk Park trying the double takeout. Bang, bang, and there go the Japanese stones. Chuntuk Park executes perfectly. Precision weight. So you see how quickly the situations can change when the teams can throw that big, accurate takeout weight. Shimizu watching his stone. Past the guard. Little roll. Still in the open.
Seen this too often, I think, from Team Japan. Just not making the rolls. It'll be a little bit tougher mentally when they're playing those shots. Seems like they're either taking too much ice or just being a bit too safe when actually playing the shots, players. So very rarely over curling those rolls.
Yeah, the Japanese have sweeping as a weapon, and they haven't really had to use it that often in this game. Teams trading hits. Korea rolls out of the rings. Empty house.
And then finally we're going to see a draw around the corner guard here. Last time we had a situation, they ended up drawing around the center guard and dropped it deep. We ended up with a whole lot of clutter around the forefoot. I like this call a lot better. Especially with the center guard being so close. Even if you make the perfect draw, it's going to be a very easy run back for Korea.
Well, we said the Japanese sweepers weren't really being put in the game, but they're certainly working now. They're by the corner guard, trying to bury this one.
I think it's buried.
Sure is. Top of the 12-foot.
That's a really good drop. To Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi.
센터로. 보여 이쪽으로. 거기.
Maybe popped out on the other side.
들어오지마. 별로.
Tiny bit, but that looks fairly hard to get to.
It's a bit of a teaser. You show the opponent just a tiny piece of the rock and you tempt them into playing a shot maybe they shouldn't.
See now that drawing out of the corner guard, all of a sudden,
햄으로 돌려치자.
much bigger problems for Korea.
햄.
Certainly takes away the option that the Koreans would have had of running their own back had they gone behind the center guard. So good aggressive play here by the Japanese.
Fairly long guard though, so shouldn't be impossible to get around it and remove the red. But even if they do, probably roll out. At least they won't be anywhere near the center, so Japan can probably just draw around once more.
Taehan Kim, Korean third, trying this difficult out turn by the guard. Oh no, he just clips the guard. I thought he was past.
That's probably the worst result, really. Does not hit the red, and doesn't really take off the guard either.
So an opportunity here for Japan to capitalize. Well, we talked about that one being a teaser and just showing him a tiny piece of the rock, tempting him to have a play at it. And the corner guard does come into play. Korea feathered it. Japanese shot rock remains. Here's Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi.
Nine step. Yes. 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 Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Nine. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Trying an in-turn draw around this center guard to lie two. They've got to get it by. They're by the guard. Well swept. Had to sweep it for line though, so it's deeper in the house than they would have liked.
Still not too bad though.
Japan lies two.
It's better drawing that deep than just in behind the tee line. It's not really worth anything for Korea to freeze onto the shot. And they have some good separation. They're lying too, so you probably won't see Korea take the risk of drawing around their center guard here. So you're going to have to make a play on either of the reds. Might still play a freeze.
It would be very dangerous for the Koreans to just try and draw around the center guard, and that's definitely right.
So from this angle, you'll see that it's actually popped out in the open.
Still no margin for error for the Koreans. We can see Soo-Hyuk Kim looking at the angles. He thinks there might be a double on that top rock. So he's thinking maybe I can just clean them all out. But a bit of pressure here on the Korean skip. Sander had mentioned that he thought that the Koreans have had the better in the play in the early part of this game. But here's Japan applying a little bit of pressure of their own. Let's see how he responds. Playing the out turn. By the guard. It's the contact. Tiny roll inside. Korea lying one. But still a good opportunity here for Japan. Our feature game, you're watching live coverage from the Pacific Asia Curling Championships in Karuizawa, Japan. Highly anticipated match between Team Korea and Team Japan, and it's proving to be so. Very close. Japan with last rock here in the fifth end. Yusuke Morizumi, the Japanese skip. delicate shot to try and remove that Korean counter. He really wants to stay around, but the sweepers aren't touching it. Makes the hit, but he rolls out himself. And that definitely wasn't in the flight plan.
That's 2 points gone for Japan, because Soo-Hoo Kim will surely just remove the last stone in the house. We'll see enough of this. Shouldn't be a big problem.
타라 많이 잡았어. 많이 잡았어. 조금만
And,
더.
most likely, we're going to be seeing a blank end.
여기서 보면 하나도 안 많아 보여.
So perhaps an opportunity lost for Team Japan. But shot still has to be made. Soo-Hoo Kim trying to remove that Japanese shot rock. Has to navigate past that corner guard. Playing the out turn. Watching it intently. Sweepers aren't touching it. Well by the guard. Has he got contact? Yes, he does, but will he push it out of the rings? No. Comes to rest in the back of the forefoot. So, he looks down despondently. That rock didn't curl the way he thought it might.
Didn't really throw a whole lot of weight either, to be honest. I figured he'd be throwing it just a lot harder and just clip it off.
Yeah, it looked like it was just about a board weight. We did talk about him having to navigate past the corner guard. He could probably see about half of the target rock. So perhaps he thought he had to play the down weight just to make sure that he would get contact, but as Sanders said, with heavier weight, clipping the rock might have moved it out of the rings a bit more easily. As it stands, he hit half the rock, pushed it about 8 feet, leaves Japan lying 1, and here's a draw for 2. Morizumi on the in-turn.
Well, has struggled a wee bit with his draw weight, Morizumi. This one is looking pretty good. Always good when your sweepers are just keeping it clean, not backing off it. So last stone here, 15, looking fairly good for Team Japan. It's gonna settle nicely on the tee line, I think, for 2. And Japan's actually gonna have a lead now. 3 shots to 2 as we head into the 15 break. Both teams will get off the ice for about 5 minutes, and we'll have a little break as well. We'll be back with our live coverage from the Pacific Asia Curling Championships 2014 here in the Karuizawa Ice Park Curling Hall.
Play in the second end. Highlights from the first half of the game. Japanese skip Morozumi trying to play a raise. Just snuck it by. Korea took a point. In the third end, again, Morozumi on the in turn. Drawing against 2 to save the end. That was after throwing his first rock through the rings. Then play in the fourth end. Korean skip Soo-Hyuk Kim. Nice job picking out the Japanese shot rock to score 1. And in the fifth end, Japanese skip Morozumi with an open draw to the house to score his 2 points. Drills it onto the tee line. And at the halfway point in the game, 10-end contest, Japan's on top 3 points to 2. So we'll do a quick roundup for you of the other games that are going on here in this 4th session. Day 2 here at the Pacific Asia Curling Championships. Berths at both the men's and the women's World Curling Championships are at stake. So there's a lot to play for. On sheet E in the men's event, Australia versus Chinese Taipei. Playing in the 6th end now, Australia leads that 4-2. On sheet D, also in the men's event, China versus New Zealand. Plays now in the end 7, and China leads that 8 points to 4. On sheet C in the women's event, it's the hosts Japan versus New Zealand. And Team New Zealand is really putting the acid on the Japanese. New Zealand is leading that one 3-2. On sheet B in the women's event, Australia versus China. China's easing out now. They're to have a 6-2 lead. And sheet A, our feature game in the men's event, Japan versus Korea. Japan leads that 3-2 at the 5th end. So a lot of interesting contests here on the second day of the Pacific Asia Curling Championships. Japanese lead Kosuke Morozumi. Japan through that center guard. Korea responded with the corner guard. Now the attempted come around, trying to use that center guard for their own. Love to bury behind the center guard. Eases to the tee line, just past it. Maybe hiding a corner. Definitely available to the Koreans, however. The men's event here at the Pacific Asia Championships is a single round robin followed by a semi-final for the top 4 teams in the gold medal match. And because it's a single round robin, the playing format here, wins in the round robin phase carry over against your opponent in the semi-final. So every win in the round robin is precious. Great shot there. So the guards are doing their jobs. They're being well used. Tetsuro Shimizu, Japanese second, playing the intern.
Looking a bit hot for weight here.
Just squeaks by the guard. Nudges the Korean rock, pushes it to the back of the button. Bit of a pocket there, however. Korea's got the hammer. Japan scored a deuce in the 5th. Korea trying to come right back at them. So what kinds of things do you think the teams might have been talking about at the fifth end break? Pretty tight contest.
It's pretty tight, so I wouldn't say they're going to be employing big changes in their setup. I think Korea's had a good game so far. Probably the coach said, well, just do the same, we'll get the points. And I'm guessing the same for the Japanese coach, saying, well, start off a bit rough, but good end, scoring 2 in the fifth. Just keep on doing the same, and you'll be golden. I'm not sure if too many games will change in the fifth end break. I'm not sure how much you can say to change a game, but it's always nice to get a fifth end break if things aren't going your way, because just a little time to reset and just have some food and drinks and just relax for a second, clear your head. But for this game, not sure if it really mattered too much. I think both teams are quite confident of having a chance of winning in the game. Korea has last stone, 1 down. I'd call that a tie in curling sense.
Well, this is starting to look like an end of mixed doubles. We've got a bit of a party going on in the 4-foot. 5 rocks there already. See the yellow Korean stones, one at the top of the button, one at the back of the button, and a cluster of Japanese stones around them. Group of 5.
Same weight.
So we see the importance of that center guard, the first rock of the end thrown by Kasuki Morozumi. Lots and lots and lots of rocks gathering behind it. Chontuk Park, Korean second. Looking to add another one to the pile. Nam and Kim on the brushes. Well by the guard. Just going to nudge theirs forward. Well, the angles are getting really interesting. So the party in the 4-foot expands. Some friends have been called. 3 Korean stones, 3 Japanese stones, all biting or fully inside that blue 4-foot circle. Morizumi's probably thinking he could have a crane and drop one in from above, but that's really not an option. Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi, the Japanese third. Looking to gently reposition these stones. Watches his shot intently. Really being worked hard by the Japanese sweepers. They're a bit worried about that center guard. They've got to get it by first. No, they crashed the top guard. So the Japanese were slightly burned by their own center guard on that one. Yamaguchi was trying to come around and promote his own stone, but instead, a bit narrow, feathers the center guard. And these angles, just about anything is possible, really. The Korean shot rock at the top of the button. The way that the red stone on the corner of it is angled almost certainly going to jam on the Korean stone at the back of the button. So a bit of a dilemma here for the Koreans. They know that they have to adjust or protect the stones somehow, but it's also not so easy for the Japanese as well, so they could inadvertently make it easier for the Japanese if they're not careful. All 4 Korean players having some input on this shot. There we see the Korean bench. The alternate Mi Young Yu and coach Say Young Yang. Korea's already used their timeout, so Coach Yang can't really do anything but watch from the coach's bench. He might like to offer some options, but he can't really do that. Up to the players now.
Not sure if I would want to do too much here, really. Angles are looking pretty good for Korea. There's a chance that if you change up the angles here, you might end up with a worse result than you already have.
Tae-Han Kim sends it on its way. It's yes, no, so they're close to whatever they're trying to play. Well, now the angles have changed again.
Yeah, not for the worse, I think. It's looking pretty good, actually.
So Kim gets congratulations from Park, his teammate.
That's probably the best result they could have ended up with, I think.
So Korea does have last rock here on the 6th end. They've got a little something cooking here. There's a lot of granite for the Japanese to deal with, and the angles are not great for them, but they know they have to hit something. They're probably going to hit it hard.
It should be possible to remove 2 rocks here. Just got to nose this. One stone on the top of the 4.
Yamaguchi bringing the heat.
Really close. There we go.
Bang, bang, bang.
Almost built the
Squeezes
3rd one.
2 out of the rings. So that's definitely ended the party in the 4-footer. Certainly shown some guests the door. 2 Korean stones spring out of the rings, and the 3rd pushes into the back of the 8-foot. So Japan again showing the ability to really change the end. We've got some discussion going on with the players, and there's an official involved here. Probably some questions. Maybe somebody inadvertently hit a stone in motion. Players sorted out quite quickly among themselves. No issue there. The spirit of curling is a really important element of the game. Even though that there are officials on the ice, really the players try to play to the spirit of and the letter of the game. Most of the usually inadvertent infractions are sorted out by the players themselves. And fairness in the spirit of the game is really the important order of the day. So we've seen Korea again looking at the angles. They've got the hammer. They want to make the most of it. They'd like to score their deuce. They're going to have to reposition some stones to do it.
건들 필요가 없는 게 아니라 이렇게 미안. 이게 더 닿자니까. 그러니까 저거 때문에. 저 한번 날아가도 때려버리고 끝나는데. 차를 2번째 샷이지. 별로? 상대가 탭해버리면 할 게 없어. 오케이. 이거 가자, 바로 가자. 그래. 3개. 맞춰보자 한번.
Decision made. Don't think time is really going to be a factor for the Korean team. We're playing the 6th end. About 4 less minutes on their clock than their Japanese opponents. They are having to confer a bit more about the options. They do want to make the most of this opportunity, having last rock to try and score their deuce or more. Still a bit of uncertainty, Sander, between the players. Now Kim is ready.
Well, 27 minutes left. I'd say maybe it's getting a bit tight. I wouldn't really want to have about 28 minutes or more with 4 ends to play, and we haven't really finished the 6th end yet, so I have to make sure they think about their time management from here on out. Usually one player on the team has the responsibility of checking the clock.
So we saw that one really spin and rearrange the stones. Not sure it's exactly what Team Korea was looking for. So Japan sensing the opportunity here to perhaps manufacture a force. If they're able to nose hit this Korean stone in the back of the 8-foot, it would leave them lying 2. Japanese skip Yosuke Morizumi. Really need this one to stick around. Nice job. Morizumi looks after his handiwork. Soo-Hook Kim sizing up the situation, discussing with Taehan Kim. What are our best options here to try and generate a 2? We could try a freeze. We could do a run back on our own.
Looks like the freeze is the call.
Freeze.
Or
yeah, in that broom position, it could really be either option, but we'll see when he comes out of the hack what kind of weight he's going to throw.
yeah, freeze.
Definitely the freeze.
Did look like maybe a touch much ice. Land shot. But could be down to Soo-Hook Kim's release. Maybe curls a bit more than the other players with his in turn.
Yeah, that rock is definitely moving. Might even be over curling.
Curled on a good almost 5 feet.
He throws quite a flat handle. And by a flat handle, it's a handle that rotates not as quickly as it goes down the ice, rotates more slowly, and if the handle is rotating more slowly, it will curl more. So there we see the stone just thrown by Soo-Hook Kim. Corner frozen against the Japanese counter. Shouldn't be any problem for Japan to remove it. Playing in number 6. Morozumi. Doesn't mind if he loses his own, but he definitely wants to remove that Korean shot rock. Boom, right on the nose. Japan lies 2. So mission accomplished for Team Japan. They're going to force Korea to take 1. And that will get them the hammer back in end number 7 on even terms. At that point, it would become basically a 4-end curling game, and you have the hammer. But again, shot has to be made first. Soo-Hook Kim has to hit and stick to save his 1. Last stone here in end number 6. Brushers aren't going anywhere near it yet. Has to curl a bit. There's the contact. A little roll to the outside. Has it rolled too far? Yes, it has. It's a steal of 1 for Japan. So, a routine hit and stick, but a little wide, maybe, or a little heavy. Hits and he rolls to the wing. And Japan steals, a huge steal. Really against the entire momentum of that end. So that was a no-risk steal there for the Japanese. They had 2 of their own stones. Really, they were just hoping to force the Koreans to take 1. But Soo-Hook Kim a little wide with his outturn attempt. Rolls out to the wing and Japan gets a big steal. Updating our other games here on the 4th session. Here on day 2, you're listening to live coverage of the Pacific Asia Curling Championships from Karuizawa, Japan. On sheet E, in the men's draw, it's Australia versus Chinese Taipei. They're in the 7th end. Tight game here. Australia is on top 4-3. On sheet D in the men's event, New Zealand versus China. Play there is in the 8th end. China leads that one 8-4. On sheet C, in the women's event, Japan versus New Zealand. Play has just started in the 8th end. Scores are tied. It's 4-4. On sheet B, in the women's event, Australia versus China. China leads that one in the 8th end. The score is 6-3. And on sheet A, our feature game in the men's event, Japan versus Korea. We just saw that no-risk steal by the Japanese. They carry a 4-2 lead into the 7th end of play. Japan changing the tactics now with a 2-point lead. Instead of throwing the center guards, they throw one into the rings. Korea does respond with the corner guard. Yosuke Morozumi, the Japanese lead. Looking to bring this one tight to the house, if not into the house, covering their own shot. Just biting the 12-foot. Nice stone. Bit of a smile there from Kasuki. Nice shot. Korean lead. Yoon Ho Nam. Korea really going to the attack on this one. Electing to follow it down. Try a small little freeze. Or at least position their stone in front of the Japanese counter, which they've done. It sits full in the 8-foot.
Does leave a fairly short run back though for Japan. Shimizu shouldn't have too many problems. Just making a play on his own red here, removing the yellow. Might even be able to sit 3.
The Japanese boys love playing these kinds of shots. But boy, oh boy, they didn't make that one. Blowing it by the Korean rock and running it onto their own. We see here on the replay, contact is made, but they missed the Korean stone and instead they removed their own. Shimizu slightly disappointed with that one. So a bit of an opportunity here early in the end for the Koreans. Chuntuk Park. Korean second stone. Trying to draw on top of that Japanese shot. Has to curl though. A little bit heavy. It's not really where they wanted to be. They would have preferred to be in front of that Japanese shot. Instead, they've slid just a bit by. Still in the rings, however. Some Skip Morozumi is going to give Tetsuro another chance at this run back. Trying to drive his own stone back on the Korean shot. Well made this time.
Still drawing, Korea. 2 points behind. Want to make sure to keep stones in play here, and calling some aggressive shots to try and score their 2 back, tie up the game.
It'll be interesting what would be going through the mind of Soo-Hyuk Kim in this end. Had a fairly routine shot and didn't really make it. Gave the Japanese 2, and so you wonder if he's perhaps trying to force the issue a little bit here to try and get those 2 points back in a hurry. Definitely playing some aggressive shots.
Not executed perfectly there by Shuntuk Park. Certainly the tolerance for that shot though, being short. Drum back called by Yusuke Marzumi. Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi. Gonna run this Yellowstone straight back, try and catch the one in the house as well. And there you go.
Oh, fantastic shot by Yamaguchi. Big smile from him. He likes that. Watch this. Yellowstone. Yellowstone, both gone. Nothing but Japanese red stones in play in and around the rings. Great shot. Bit of a fist bump there from his teammate.
Yeah, now Korea really doesn't have much choice to kind of have to open things up a wee bit here. Can't get too lost in this end. They just want to move these 2 top reds here. Create some access to their corner guard. Well, that's pretty good. Somehow slides this Yellowstone. Almost underneath that red stone on the wing. That's probably not called for, but I think we'll be quite happy with the result. Able to move those red stones off the top, and somehow
look at these 2 stones moving together to the side of the house.
That's a bit special, isn't it? So yeah, good result, because you know Japan's going to go after that yellow and leave their corner guard alone, meaning after this shot Korea can probably come down and freeze onto that red stone to the right of our screen. So that worked out quite well. Still 3 yellows to go to create some offense for the Koreans, even if this Yellowstone here is removed.
Yamaguchi trying to navigate around this corner guard. He does.
Very good shot. 2 really nice shots by Yamaguchi. And as expected, you'll see Soo-Hyuk Kim call for the freeze on this red stone to the right of the screen. Tai-Han Kim, 3rd for Korea.
Facing 3 Japanese stones.
Make this one count. Sweeper's not really touching it. Seems to be pretty close. Not a single stroke of the brush, but perfect positioning nonetheless.
Yeah. In curling we call it throwing it there cold. Right on top of the Japanese shooter. Might be second shot. Looks like the Japanese stone on the right hand of the screen might still be shot rock, but still a great shot for the Koreans. Korea trails in this one 4-2. Good crowd this afternoon in Karuizawa at the Ice Park Curling Hall. This absolutely magnificent facility. Talking to the Japanese team before the game. 2 of them do actually work here in the facility. It is open year-round. Apparently quite popular for visitors from Tokyo that come up on the Shinkansen train. It's only about an hour from Tokyo. So in the summer you can enjoy a beautiful walk in the wilderness. You can play a round of golf, have a swim, and then come to the curling rink and throw a few.
Sounds perfect.
Life would be good. you could have the ultimate summer spiel here in Karuizawa.
Yusuke Morozumi then, with his first of 2 shots in this end. A really high, hard one here, trying to spill off the yellow stone here. Wow, that's accurate.
Yusuke Morozumi bringing in the heat. Watch this. He just hits it really thin, but hits it so thin he pops it across the back of the stone that was almost frozen and squeezes it out the sides. Look at his smile. He says, yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
That's a type of shot you won't see a lot of teams even try.
Absolutely. You have to be able to throw with incredible precision, and not many people can throw that kind of weight with precision, but the Japanese certainly can.
So all down to Suho Kim then to make his shots count. Trying to roll underneath the red stone, I think. Corner guard could have been an option, but it's going to roll all the way out. So 2 points are certainly out of the question. And with Japan already lying 1 here, you have a chance to split the rings and possibly force Korea to score a 1.
So the momentum in this game has definitely changed. Korea definitely had the better of the play in the first few ends of the game. But as we move into the later part of the game, momentum has definitely shifted the Japanese way. Big steal in the 6th end, and really shaping up quite well for the Japanese here in end number 7. Brush held by Tetsuro Shimizu. He plays second stone, but he holds the brush for Yusuke Morozumi. It's the out turn. Trying to get a second shot into the rings. Try to force Korea to take 1. Little split. I'm not sure that's exactly what they were looking for.
Still pretty good. There's a chance to blank the end, but I'm not sure if they're going to risk it though.
It is tempting. They are just trying to generate a force.
But
it is a bit of a teaser. You could try and throw a missile right into the middle of those 2 stones, remove both of them, and squirt forward to blank the end. Bit of risk in that, though. Certainly a high chance. Well, he takes 1. Not awful, but
yeah, so it's either taking 1 or blanking here, so you might as well have a go. And if you stick the shooter, score the 1. No damage. So you might expect to see a high hard one here as well from Suho Kim. 18 minutes left on the clock. Not quite the pace we see from Skip Morozumi, but that will be enough to spill the reds and score 1 for Korea. But still trailing Japan 3 shots to 4 as we enter the 8th end.
So our feature game is shaping up to be a tight finish. Teams are very closely matched. Let's quickly update the scores in some of the other games going on. We know that there are fans around the world following their teams. On Sheet E in the men's event, Australia versus Chinese Taipei. Playing in the 8th end now, Australia leads that 5-3. On Sheet D, China versus New Zealand play now in the 9th end. China's leading that one 8-5. On Sheet C in the women's event, Japan versus New Zealand play in the 8th end. And Japan has just scored a 2, so now they're playing in the 9th end. Japan leads that one 6-4. On Sheet B in the women's event, Australia versus China. Also playing in the 9th end, China's leading that one 6-4. And in our feature match, Japan versus Korea in the men's event, Japan's leading 4-3. Playing end number 8. Japan with last rock. Korean skip Kim elects the center guard from lead Yoon Ho Nam. Nicely played. So with a 1-point lead, it'll be interesting to see how the Japanese respond to a center guard. Earlier in the game, they were throwing a corner guard in response, but they don't really need a pile of points now. So they'll probably play it a little bit more conservatively. And they are attempting to come around. And well by the guard, and lots of weight as well. Sliding just past the button. Korean skip Kim says, "Thank you very much, I'll follow that down." Asking his lead player, Yoon Ho Nam, to play a freeze.
센터 쪽이야. 태연아, 센터 쪽으로 붙어야 돼. 너무 많아, 너무 많아. 센터 쪽으로 밀어넣어.
Well, in fact, he's not playing the freeze. He's throwing another long center guard. So Korea is really going aggressive here.
Well, I think they have to. You got to make sure. Well, you're going to have to try and steal in the set to have a realistic chance of winning the game. At least force Japan to score 1.
High risk strategy, though. You're only down 1. You could try and play for the force, try to score your pair in the 9th and try to steal the 10th, but I suppose that you have to steal an end somewhere along the line. So Korea's deciding that time is now. But if Japan can keep executing like that for the rest of the end, Korea might regret really going for it so hard in this 8th end. Japan's now lying 2, perfectly buried behind those center guards. Korean second, Chong Tuk Park. Tries to come around, but instead he's crashing that center guard. So promotable stones there for the Koreans, but Japan's lying 2. Park not happy with that shot.
So Japan would be allowed to take off the guards now if they wanted to, but liking the situation. Want to put one more in there. Shimizu with the in-turn draw.
Hard work from the Japanese brushers. Working to get past that guard. Have they got it by the guard? No. They'll feather it.
Still ends up in an okay spot.
Japan lies 3.
So Korea is going to have to remove a few reds here and open up. Try and make the double on the top 2 reds, I think, and roll underneath the corner guard. That way, at least opening the way into the 1 foot.
Definitely bailout time for Team Korea. Wow, just thins it. He leaves Japan lying 3. So tough end for Chong Tuk Park.
Not a good shot there, but they did at least move the reds back and just behind the tee line here. So Japan's going to make sure to get a stone on top of the 4 where Morozumi is pointing. If they don't, Korea is going to do the same, and then it might be really hard to get rid of that yellow stone. So they got to get there first, Team Japan.
Big shot here for Japanese second Tetsuro Shimizu. Trying to take away access to that pocket behind the button. Pressures aren't going anywhere near it. That's usually a sign that the stone has to do some curling. Waiting for it to finish. Comes to rest just at the top of the button. Not the perfect result, but an acceptable one for the Japanese. They're lying 4. And they do have last rock here in the 8th end. Taehan Kim, the Korean third. Playing a really challenging come around. Trying to get past the center guard, past the stone in the 8 foot, and into the shot rock. Here it comes. That is a beauty. Great shot. Absolutely perfect.
Wow.
Hard to describe how hard that shot was. He had to get past the center guard, navigate past that one in the 8 foot, and he couldn't disturb those red stones either. So he was just trying to come to rest exactly where he has. That's an absolutely great shot.
So Yoshi's not going to be able to remove that yellow, but it's going to come down with a draw weight and just try and come as close to the face of the yellow as possible and tap it back. Because the yellow stone is glued onto the reds, there's a red stone that will be tapped back, but they'll free up the yellow stone so it can be removed later in the end.
Oh, they get it by the guard. Great sweeping.
That's a perfect shot.
Wow.
Can't make that any better. He's made some really good shots, Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi.
He is on fire.
Good sweeping too by the Lance.
Absolutely. Handshakes for his teammates. They saved that shot for him. Telling them as they come back down the ice how much he appreciates their efforts. Back-to-back pistols from these world-class players here at the Pacific Asia Curling Championships. You're being treated to some fantastic shot making.
A lot of reds in there now.
Yes, that one Korean stone is looking quite lonely in there. Taehan Kim trying to do something about that. Stone coming into the rings. Small bump. Repositions. That's interesting. Again, Japan does have the hammer. Last rock advantage here in the 8th end. They lead at 4-3. Korea would love to steal this end, get back on level terms. Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi. Nice contact, and Japan's lying 1. Just little nudges and bumps. Has left a little jump pocket there, though. Korea might be able to make a double. Pretty cozy in there, though. They would have to really flirt with that yellow stone at the top of the button. And of course, it's definitely going to jam on the stone at the back of the 4-foot ring. That does look like what they're looking to play. Trying to make contact on that stone where the brush is, just on the inside of the rock. Jump across to the shot rock on the button and move it. Be interesting to see what kind of weight he plays. He doesn't have a lot of room. You can see he's going to have to get quite tight to his own yellow rock at the top of the forefoot to make this shot. Soo-Hook Kim on the in-turn. Need to be on the inside.
That's pretty good.
So Japan lies one, but now they're surrounded by Korean stones. So at the beginning of the end, I questioned some of the Korean tactics of stacking center guards. Definitely an opportunity for them to try and steal. The other option that we talked about at that time was the force that would have made Japan take one and then get 2 or 3 with the last rock in the ninth end. As the rocks sit right now, it's definitely shaping up for a force, but still stones to play yet, and lots of possibilities for raises, in-offs, doubles, triples. We've seen how hard the Japanese can throw the rock.
Can mention that we have a final for this session. The game between China and New Zealand is over. The Chinese men's team picked up 4 points in the ninth end, beating New Zealand 12 shots to 5. Quite the high-scoring game.
Yes, lots of 2s and 3s in that game, that's for sure. So China opened their account in the men's event with a win. The New Zealand men suffered their second loss.
Okay, so it looks like Yosuke Morozumi is going to try and come off his own red stone here and then spring on to the top yellow. Might even be able to move the yellow stone on the top of the forefoot, meaning he might be able to move both the top yellows. This is a pretty high precision shot though.
I was just going to say, Sandra, the risk reward on this shot is quite interesting because Japan is already lying one. By playing this shot, they're saying we're not satisfied with that. We need to get 2 or 3 here. But they do bring the danger of giving Korea an opportunity to steal the end. Just by the guards. Wow. Another great shot by Morozumi.
Yeah, not exactly the call I thought he was going for.
Well, and it looked like they were caught a little unawares by the amount that curled right at the end, because they jumped on it and they just got it by the guards. But they did squeeze that Korean stone. Japan's definitely lying 1. Now the big question is, are they also lying 2? Got a great look at it from her overhead. They're definitely lying 2. Korea can promote their own rock onto the Japanese shot rock, but the big question will be, of course, are they shot? They could make the raise and still leave Japan lying 1. Lots of fascinating possibilities here in end number 8. Crucial moment in this game. It's our feature match. You're watching live coverage from the Pacific Asia Curling Championships in Karuizawa, Japan. Lots to play for here. Teams are attempting to qualify for the World Men's and the World Women's Curling Championships. 2 teams each from the Pacific Asia region will go to those events. Soo-Hook Kim on the in-turn. Lots of weight.
Maximum weight, I would say, from Soo-Hook Kim. Trying to clip his own as thin as possible. That's pretty good.
Well, he's definitely removed the Japanese shot rock. And again, looking at the stone positioning, the jam was inevitable. The big question is who's going to be shot. I would say it's Japan at this point.
I'd say so too. And then the question is,
how do you get 2?
Yeah. At first glance, I can't really see a a good option to score 2 here.
Well, there's definitely no easy shot for a 2. He's looking at the in-off off his own and making a double on the yellow, which if he made that would be not only spectacular, but could perhaps score him 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think could be worth the risk. I'm not sure if you can really mess things up too much playing that shot. Certainly if you you might make contact with that top yellow and may tick the second one just an inch down maybe, if you're really unlucky. But
well, Japanese curling fans, strap yourself in. Your skip, Yusaki Morozumi, is trying a high-risk, high-reward shot.
this is the shot I thought he was playing with his first one. Coming off his own.
Last stone in the 8th.
Big extension.
It's a missile.
Does he have the accuracy though? Not
No.
quite.
Entertaining, but in the end, looks like Japan scores 1. The players are taking a close look at it. It is a crucial point. The players do have to agree, and Korean third Taehan Kim says, this is too important. Let's ask an official to measure this, please. So the officials will be called on the ice to measure.
Meanwhile, New Zealand women's team seems to have picked up 2 against Japan to tie it up at 6 each in the 9th end.
Yes, we can see the Japanese third motioning to the top of the New Zealand stone, and so the young Kiwi team have in fact tied it up. So going into the 10th and final end of that women's match, it's all tied up. Japan and New Zealand 6 points each. Japan will have last rock in the 10th end, but you'd have to say that not many people would have thought that the New Zealand team would be taking the Japanese team into the 10th end tied. So great result for this young New Zealand team.
Meanwhile, umpire has pointed to the red stone, so it will be a score of 1 for Japan, and they will lead the game 5 shots to 3 after 8 ends. I also want to mention that Korea maybe struggling just a wee bit on time. 10 minutes 57 seconds to play the last 2 ends.
That's not a lot when you're trailing and you know you're going to have to throw a lot of draws. Because on this fast ice, throwing draws takes a long time for the stone to get down to the other end. And you're absolutely right, Sander. 5.5 minutes for 2 ends is definitely doable, but it will be tight. And it definitely won't leave them a lot of time to discuss and consider options, because they've also used their 1 timeout. It is possible to play all of your shots as a team in about 3 or 4 minutes, but you really have to be in the hack ready to play. I remember once playing for New Zealand in a World Curling Championships. We were trailing in the 10th end by 3 points, and we had 4.5 minutes on the time clock. And you'd think in that situation you'd be nuts, but we were just jumping into the hack and throwing them, and we took a 3 and we lost in the extra end. But we didn't run out of time. That was against Team USA at the Victoria Worlds in 2005. Well, it's 2014 now, and we're at the Pacific Asia Curling Championships. Japan's leading this one 5-3.
Interesting. A little bit of interesting stuff going on now. Korea with playing the hitting game for one or 2 reasons. I'd say either they're just looking to save time, or 2, they feel like it's better just blanking the 9th end, trying to score 2 in the 10th, and then stealing. It'd be all the same, but maybe they just figured they'd postpone their plan 1 end to save time. Could be.
I think you're definitely right. They're probably trying to achieve 2 goals with the same strategy.
They would have to score 2 and steal 1 anyway to win the game, and if they do that in the 10th and they do extra, it doesn't really matter to them, I guess. So they're just going to run the stones down this end, save some time, make sure they can think and discuss and spend some time playing the shots to perfection in the next end, I guess.
Does put the pressure on the last shot of the end, though. Absolutely essential that they blank it. So by these tactics, Korea is saying there's only one way that we're going to win the game. It's not going to be by stealing the ninth.
You saw Japan trying to roll out there, actually, leaving Korea a draw, but Korea's not going to bite. They're going to throw it straight through, because obviously throwing a draw would leave them with less time. So this is going to be a very interesting end. This is not something you see a lot. Teams just throwing their rocks frantically through the house as quick as possible. Oh well.
I have to say, it's I mean, Japan has got more time available than Korea, but Japan is also saying, oh well, anything you can do, we can do better. So if you guys are going to throw it through, so will we. In the sport of baseball, this would be like an intentional walk. You very rarely see this in curling. Korea's playing this end to try and deliberately blank. And the Japanese are saying, okay, we'll save some clock too. We won't even bother throwing it in there for you to hit. We'll just throw it through.
Well, if I was Japan, I'd maybe put the stone in the house, because then Korea would actually have to play the hit.
I would absolutely throw it in the house. Obviously, there's no reason at all for the Japanese to throw it through.
You might see
See a nose hit?
you might see Yosuke Murtsumi play his draws into the house
You would think so.
in the end here, at least.
Certainly his
Anything?
last rock.
Yeah, certainly.
It'd be a major upset if Morozumi threw both of his stones through the rings. Some stretching going on from the Korean contingent.
Yeah, he's been doing that for a while. He was doing about 100 push-ups just earlier.
Well, it's a good way to deal with the tension of a close match, I suppose. This Korean team is trailing by 2. So we see the Korean strategy of just throwing it through continuing.
All right.
Yeah, this might qualify as freaky deaky curling.
Well,
Just on the edge of it.
well, in some communities, freaky deaky means Scandinavian. So I'm not sure if I really,
You're not buying that one, Sander.
not sure if I like that phrase.
No freaky deaky?
Yes.
Very unusual, I have to say. I've been involved in this game a long time, and they say you see something new for the first time every time you come out onto a curling rink, and this is definitely one of those.
But Murozumi throwing his first through with over 9 minutes left on the clock, so a bit strange to me, really.
I'm really puzzled by that. It's giving the Koreans a psychological let-off to not even have to throw at anything.
No, maybe Japan feeling a bit cheated. When Soo Kim then finally drawing with his
Wait a
first
minute, why are you throwing it into the rings now?
one. Well, we've got to make sure to get this one to the house, so it'd be a
Will.
big upset if you dropped the corner guard here.
It
And
certainly would. And the players are sweeping it for all they're worth. Just getting it to
Thank
the
you very much.
rings.
yep.
One of the more unusual ninth ends of curling you'll ever see.
Oh well. Probably won't have team struggling for time then, which is
Well, that should make for a more entertaining 10th end, but this ninth end, although unusual, has had its own form of entertainment. Morozumi rolls off.
so fairly simple for Soo Kim then to throw this one through.
So he's accomplished his mission.
Didn't
He's
he?
saved about 4 minutes of time and has the easiest blank you could imagine.
Didn't even activate the eye on the hog technology there. So technically that's a hogged rock.
Well, that ninth end had a little bit of everything.
Well,
A blank end.
one of my guilty pleasures is watching teams have not enough time on the clock, and then playing curling.
It's a bit like watching a 1920s film in black and white with everybody moving in faster motion, isn't it?
I find it a bit funny, to be honest.
Yeah.
Might be a bit sadistic, I don't know, but
well, there's always that great moment of realization when the teams turn around, look at the clock, and they go, "Uh-oh,
yep.
uh-oh, we have to go a bit quicker." So that's our bit of comic relief for the day in the ninth end. Now we're back to serious business into the 10th and final end. Japan leads at 5-3. Korea does have last rock. They need a deuce to force an extra end. Crucial first stone here from Japanese lead Kosuke Morozumi.
Yeah, bit of an unusual tactic, but understandable, really, given the situation.
So Japan electing to force the play of the Koreans by throwing a stone into the rings. Well swept by the Japanese.
Yeah, but even that stone's a little bit high in the house. Korea can easily come around that stone later in the end. So even some teams would actually remove that on the second rock. But I think maybe Morozumi will feel that it's good enough and keep it there.
In the free guard zone, of course, any stone between the rings and the hog line cannot be removed from play, but if the stone's in the rings, it absolutely can. So the Japanese would have the option to hit their own stone if they chose to, but they're not going to do that. Japan 5, Korea 3 in the 10th and final end. Well, maybe the final end. We haven't seen an extra end game yet here in the Pacific Asia Curling Championships 2014. Korea would dearly like to force one. Well, what they'd really like to do is score 3 and win the game right here, of course, but trailing by 2. Their goal is really to try and force an extra end, score 2. Koreans trying to keep rocks in play, so instead of throwing a takeout like they might have done earlier in the game, they're just repositioning the stones, pushing both of the Japanese stone behind the tee line, so that's pretty useful. Japanese second, Tetsuro Shimizu, trying to remove the Koreans. Guard stone does that nicely. Japan realizing that the corner guard was really going to be the one that could potentially hurt them in this end, so they took their earliest opportunity to get rid of that. Chung Tuk Park, Korean second player, trying to reestablish that corner guard. Korea need 2. One's no good to them. Nice stone by Park. So the Korean team will ignore those Japanese stones as long as possible and only use them late in the end to try and manufacture their pair.
Seemed like Morozumi was contemplating on maybe playing the slash double on the guard, running that back onto the all stone in the house, but it's gonna just keep to the simple shot. Be off the corner. This way you shouldn't give up more than 2.
It's quite tempting when you have a 2-point lead in the final end to overextend and try to clear everything in the name of trying to close the game out, instead of being patient and accepting that if your opponent did score 2, you've still got the hammer in the extra end and backing yourself to win the game that way.
어, 나이스를.
Another guard here from the Koreans. We'll quickly update our other games here in the fourth session on the second day of the Pacific Asia Curling Championships. Men's action on Sheet E, Australia versus Taipei. Australia leads that 6-5, playing the 10th end. China defeated New Zealand 12-5 in the men's event. In the women's event on Sheet C, Japan versus New Zealand. They're tied up 6-6, playing the 10th and final end. Australia and China are also tied up 6-6, playing the 10th end. So we've got two tied games in the women's event, and of course in our feature game, Japan leads Korea 5-3. Some really tight games here. Looking for the roll, squeezing it by the shot. So Japan lies 3. Probably not crazy about having rocks in play, but at least they're theirs. But these rocks are potentially usable by the Koreans. They could hit and roll behind that red stone. Weight control is critical here. Koreans can't afford to have stones rolling out of the rings. So just a board weight, control weight shot being played by the Koreans. Looking for cover behind that guard. There's the hit. Oh, but they left it too long. Sweeping error there, definitely from the Koreans. And they roll out of the rings.
That's a big mistake.
You'd have to call that a misread. Looked like there was an opportunity for the Koreans to hold the line there with sweeping, but left it a bit late. So here's a great opportunity for the Japanese to eliminate a corner guard. From the Japanese perspective, the fewer rocks in play, the better. And Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi does just that. Nice peel on the guard. So Team Korea also with one eye on the time clock, although they do have plenty of time. But what they don't have are guards. Two Japanese stones in the rings. Korea will try to use them.
좀 타이트한 것 같은데.
Taihan Kim looking to get around that stone on the top of the 8-foot and hide behind it. Well, just clips it. Interesting. Not quite sure what they were trying there, just trying to position stones, I guess. Quite tempting for Japan to try and eliminate more than one stone on this shot, but also some risk in that. So I suspect that Yusuke Morozumi would be happy just to run this stone off, roll out himself. It would be a nice bonus if he could clip his own stone out of the back of the 8-foot, but there'd be danger of a jam there, so I doubt he would try that. Tetsuro Shimizu holding the target for his skipper. And here is Yusuke Morozumi. Playing the out turn. And he does just peel it out. Nice shot by Morozumi. So it's down to this for Korean skip Soo-Hook Kim. He needs 2. They've got 2 stones to play. The only cover they've got would be that Japanese stone at the top of the 8-foot. The other remote possibility might be playing a freeze on the back stone. Make a double on his last shot, but it looks like he's electing to come around draw. Must make this. Kim watching intently. Park and Nam on the brushes. They know they have to get this to the house. Working it hard, but boy, I think he's short. Short of the rings, my goodness. They kick it off, and Korea concedes defeat, knowing they can't score their 2 points, and Japan takes it out, winning this one 5-3. Big win for the Japanese team. Nice comeback. Korea had the play in the early going. The Japanese team came back in the middle of the game, and Japan have closed it out, winning this one by a 5-3 score. So a great finish to our feature match here. We see our line score. Korea took one in the second end. Japan responded with one in the third. Big 2 points in the fifth for the Japanese, taking control of the game. And a huge steal for Japan, and giving them control of the match in the sixth end. And they hung on for a 5-3 win. A lot of great shot making in that game. And while we're preparing for our highlights and post-game interview, I'll just quickly update the scores in the other matches going on. In the men's draw on sheet E, Australia 6, Chinese Taipei 5. Chinese Taipei does have last rock in the 10th end, but they are facing an Australian shot rock right now. They're on third stone, so there's still some rocks to play. On sheet C, it's New Zealand versus Japan, and Japan has just won the game. Last rock made by the Japanese skip, Yumi Karuizawa. So the Japanese pull off a very tight win against a young New Zealand team who battled them right to the end. But Japan takes that out 8-6. In the other women's game on sheet B, Australia versus China, another tight match. China taking that one out 7-6. So another great effort from Kim Forge and her Australian team. And in our feature match, Japan versus Korea, Yosuke Morozumi and his Japanese teammates did an excellent job, hung in there, and have taken out the victory. And we're standing by for our post-game interview. So a very entertaining fourth session. We'll have a quick look at the highlights from the second half of this game, and then we will speak with the winning Japanese skip, Yosuke Morozumi. In the sixth end of the game, quite a crucial moment here. It was a hit to save one, but look, it rolls out to the outside and the Japanese steal. So that was a crucial moment in the match. Korea had the opportunity to tie it up, but instead Japan stole the one and took that control point. Korea here was forced to take one. Japanese did a great job of setting up the force. Korea was back in it though, 4-3. And then in the eighth end, a big pile of rocks. Japan was lying one, trying a really difficult in-off shot to try and score their second point. They didn't, but after the measures, the Japanese did score their point. And that 2-point margin took them all the way to the 10th and final end, when in their last-ditch attempt to try and tie the game, Korean skip Suho Kim comes up just short on his draw and concedes defeat to the Japanese. And now let's go and meet winning skip Yosuke Morozumi.
So second win for you. How are you feeling about your team and your chances this week?
2勝目おめでとうございます。今週の、なんていうんですか、調子はどんな感じでしょう。
今すごくチームもショット決まってますし、これからあと4試合しっかりと勝ちたいと思います。
We did really good. We threw really good, and we are going to play better rest of games.
So that ninth end was a bit interesting. What happened there?
9エンド目はちょっと面白かったですけど、どんな気持ちでプレーしたんですか？
お互いに時間がなかったので、何もしないエンドになってしまったんですが、観客にはちょっと申し訳なかったなと思います。
We both had not so much time and we just threw bad. Sorry for audience.
Right. How does it feel playing at home in your hometown? Do you feel like it's a big advantage?
ホームでプレーするのはかなり有利な気分でプレーできますか？
自分たちにとってすごくアドバンテージになってますし、応援に来てくださる方がたくさんいるので、すごく力強いです。
There's a lot of people came here to watch our curling. It is a pleasure for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Join us tomorrow for more live curling. Thank you and goodbye from Karuizawa.
I can see all of it plus an inch. So if you got to that.
Are we sure they're only sitting one?
I think it's two. So you got it. I think you have to hit it. But you don't need to hit it big, right?